Hello and welcome to the insanely overdue episode 26 of my retrospective look at TT Games LEGO Games of the Past. A nearly 2-year gap. Wow. I took some time away from the channel mainly to refocus on career and family, but never did I expect it to be that long. I am so sorry. Anyway, I am back and I'm eager to move forward. So for those of you that did stick around waiting for the episode that I promised back in 2022, thank you for your continued support. It genuinely means the world to me. If you're new to the channel and the series, welcome. Thank you for watching, and please do like, share, subscribe, comment, all those wonderful things that content creators love for you to do. Anyway, let's get on with it. In 2014, Warner Brothers and LEGO took what at the time was considered a gamble on an idea that could go either way. Movies based on a toy, not a new thing. Transformers, G.I. Joe, even more recently Barbie. But a movie based on a toy that has the toy as the main setting, the main characters, the main environments, in fact everything. Using a photorealistic CGI to look like stop motion and limiting the movement of the characters to what they can actually do as a toy. It's total, utter madness. Then the LEGO movie came out. Critical success, financial success, catchy theme tune, fans loved it. In every sense of the word, the LEGO movie was successful. A sequel was inevitable. After a couple of spin-off movies with varying levels of success, that sequel came in 2019. Set 5 years after the events of the first movie, the LEGO universe is now a very different place. The DUPLO race has invaded, and the once great city of Bricksburg has been reduced to brick rubble. The survivors of this new wasteland live in a small town aptly named Apocalypseburg, and all dressed like extras from a Mad Max movie. Apart from one. Despite the apocalyptic world, the hero who became a master builder, Emmet, he remains the same happy, naive, coffee-drinking joy that he always was. When a new threat arrives in the form of alien invaders from the Systar System, and all of his friends are kidnapped, it's up to Emmet to save the day once more. But is he tough enough for the task? Well, no. Actually, no, he's not. Enter Rex Dangervest, a galaxy-defending archeologist cowboy raptor trainer. You see what they did there, right? The oddly familiar-sounding Rex is the tough guy Emmet believes he needs to be in order to save the world, and welcomes the new ally to his adventure. Now, before I go any further, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. I pray that you've watched the movie if you're watching this video, otherwise it's about to be spoilt for you. So, a few twists and turns later, a time travel subplot that would make the Doctor blush, and we find out that not everything is as it appears. Turns out the Queen of the Systar System has a major crush on Batman and wants to marry him. Unfortunately, her methods of arranging said marriage do lead to a slight misunderstanding that sets off the whole story. The real big bad of the movie is Rex, who, is actually a future version of Emmet, who failed in his mission to rescue his friends, went a little bit mad, toughened up, stole Bill and Ted's time machine, built a huge fist-shaped ship, populated it with a crew of dinosaurs, and then went back in time to ensure his younger self could complete the mission that he couldn't. Yes, that is what happens. Yep, that's the story. Seriously. Now, the video game follows the exact same story, and will spoil the movie for you if you haven't seen it already. So, first off, I liked the LEGO Movie 2 movie, but nowhere near as much as I liked the original. It never came close to being as good. In fact, if I'm being totally honest, I'd rate it third in the LEGO franchise movies, behind the LEGO Movie and LEGO Batman movie, both of which I love, I adore. The game, however, now that's a different story. Built on the same engine as LEGO Worlds, the LEGO Movie 2 video game is vastly different from almost every other TT LEGO game. They really went all out in trying something new. The innovation is kind of the key to this game, and while it's far from being the best game in the series, it definitely has an interesting change of pace for long-term fans. So where do we start with this one? Mission structure is probably a good starting point. It's different to say the least. Unlike the vast majority of LEGO games, there aren't any structured levels to play through, no mini-kits to collect, no stud counter to fill. Instead, the story is directly integrated into the vast open world environments, similar to the different planets you explore within LEGO Worlds. Each world you find yourself transported to has a unique chunk of the storyline to complete before you move on to the next world, but there is absolutely nothing stopping you going off and exploring the environment and doing other side missions. On the plus side, this different approach to telling the story allows a lot more freedom in your play and a lot less loading screens. You also get much more fluid gameplay as you can move between story and side missions at will, essentially. This also means that at no point you are limited to the characters or the tools available to you, like in most LEGO games before you unlock the free play, that is. It's a much more immersive experience, and the story is much more part of the environments that you're already free to experience. The downside, however, is that the story itself is lost within the wider game. The missions don't really feel like they go into any great depth, and with the exception of a few giant DUPLO boss fights, they just feel like side missions that you get in every other open world in a LEGO game. Now, just to be clear, I played through the entirety of this game for this review, as in 100%ed it. And you know what? I found it so frustrating at how many of the story missions were essentially just fetch missions with... There's a few puzzles in there, for good measure, but none of it was a challenge in the slightest. The other big downside to the story I found was the length. I mean, it is short. There's like 4 hours of gameplay. I spent longer playing LEGO Batman, the movie add-on for LEGO Dimensions. It's quite disappointingly short, to be honest. Despite all that, I still thoroughly enjoyed the experience of playing this game. I couldn't put it down. Why? The mechanics of the game. Now, think of the LEGO Movie 2 video game as a sister game to LEGO Worlds, rather than a standard licensed LEGO game, and things make a lot more sense. Customization is key to happiness in this game, and whilst it can take a few worlds before you're truly having fun, much like the grinding pain of early LEGO Worlds to be fair, there is a tipping point where you suddenly go, oh hang on, this is actually a lot of fun. What I will say, however, is that in terms of customization, this is very much a watered down version of LEGO Worlds. You are far more restricted in terms of the control over the environments themselves, and building options aren't quite as varied. That being said, there are hundreds of characters to unlock, thousands of tools, items, weapons, vehicles, and even a number of fantastic pre-designed buildings. The further through the game you get, the more you can unlock. There are specific tools and characters which will unlock during the story, of course, such as Rex's power gloves, a camera, jetpack, scanning goggles, but as you progress you'll also find relics hidden in chests or as rewards for taking down bad guys, and these can be opened, even purchased, from there's a shop on each world. The upside is that just playing through the story, you'll collect loads of these things without too much effort. The downside is that when you do open them, it's completely random and duplicate unlocks are possible. What this means is the further into the game you get, the bigger your collection gets. It can be quite frustrating trying to build up, get the pieces you want or need to complete your collection. There's no guarantee. Speaking of characters, this is the first TT Games mainstream game to feature mini dolls, the slightly larger figures most commonly seen in the LEGO Friends series. They feature in the movie, and you can play as them in the game as well. It's a nice expansion of the LEGO gaming franchise, but there's literally no advantage to playing as them. In fact, there is absolutely no advantage to playing as any particular character at all. Well, unless a specific mission requires a specific character to show up, that is. Now, if we take that one scenario out of the equation, they're all the same. Character selection is nothing more than a skin change. No powers, no extra abilities. You can literally be Superman, but you can't fly. Now that's annoying. The flip side of that, however, is whether you're playing as Emmet, a Justice League member, a random city townie, the taco guy, or even a giraffe, you can all use the same tools, the same resources, the same abilities. I mean, who doesn't want to see a minifigure dressed as a panda flying through the air strapped to a jetpack? Now, while the story itself may be short, the open world is huge. And much like the Skywalker saga, there is a galaxy of environments to explore. 16 in total if you include the free DLC, which includes a few Rex themed additions. Outside of the story worlds that you'll visit, there are smaller secondary worlds to explore which take a lot of their inspiration from the first movie. So, for example, you've got Middle Zealand, classic Bricksburg, the Old West, etc, etc, etc. The format of all the worlds is pretty much standard for any TT Games open worlds. There are collectible bricks and side missions to complete. Purple bricks replace the standard gold as the MacGuffin that keeps you playing, with 500 of these things to collect scattered across the unique landscapes. Much like any other LEGO game, a good proportion of these will require you to complete side missions or solve some kind of puzzle using what you've learned in the primary story. I highly recommend completing the story first and unlocking the jetpack. It makes life so much easier. Now, graphically, I feel that using LEGO worlds as the underlying design has hindered the game somewhat. Whilst the environments are rich and full of life, the graphics are far from as polished as what we've seen in other games of the same era. DC Supervillains, for example, came out 5 months before this game and looks like it was made for a completely different generation altogether. It's eons ahead graphically. I feel that I'm being a little bit harsh, you can judge it for yourself, but in my view, I don't think that they're anywhere near as good as this game could have been in terms of its look and feel. Moving on to audio, and considering that none of the movie cast actually returned, the voice acting is actually pretty decent, with stand-ins for most of the major characters. A couple tried a little too hard to sound like their movie counterparts, but it works and it doesn't undermine the enjoyment of the game in the slightest. The soundtrack is wonderful. It's a combination of music from the movie, including a couple of songs that you may or may not get stuck in your head, and similar ambient music to what we got in LEGO Worlds makes a pleasant experience throughout, especially for fans of the movie. One of my favourite things about the first movie's game was the music. The LEGO movies just had great music. I mean, I remember playing LEGO Movie 1. I used to wander around the ruins of Cloud Cuckoo Land just for the backing music. It's fantastic. Anyway, overall, the LEGO Movie 2 video game isn't for everyone. It's not the universal pick up and go that TT Games usually have as part of their series. Is that really a bad thing? I don't think so. Now, throughout this series, I have mentioned several times that TT Games' approach to the LEGO series very much seems to be, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And while they've pushed the envelope and tried new things in the past, the primary focus has always been around refinement of the mechanics. That was until LEGO Worlds came along and they went completely off on their own tangent to a new universe altogether. It's clear from the LEGO Movie 2 that this was the way that developers were considering taking the whole franchise, but it clearly wasn't meant to be. I mean, given the Skywalker saga's return to something a bit more familiar, yes, it's on a new engine, yes, it's better graphics and better gameplay, but it's essentially the same. At the end of the day, so what if this isn't for everyone? If you're a fan of LEGO Worlds, then you're going to like this a lot. If you're getting bored of the same old, then you're going to appreciate the change. This game does, however, suffer from a similar problem that I mentioned in LEGO Worlds. It takes a long time to find its footing, and it does require the player to stick with it through the early pain. It's worth every minute, I promise you. When this game hits its footing, there is a lot of fun to be had and a lot of replayability options available. It's just a shame that the devs did play it a bit safe and watered down the customization options compared to LEGO Worlds. Love it or not, this game is evidence that TT Games are willing to shake things up and risk it all for something new occasionally. Anyway, thank you so much for watching me blabber on about another game. Thank you to everyone that has supported the channel, whether you've been here for years or you are very recent. I appreciate every single one of you, and yes, I took a major break between videos, but that will not be the case again. I'm very much dedicated to this channel once more. We have, unfortunately, only got one more game to do as part of this series, because I've covered every mainstream LEGO game done by TT Games, apart from one. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. That will be my final video for this series. I will do other series and I will look at other developers that have done Lego games in the past, but for TT Games, 1 episode left and I'm already working on it, I promise you. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll be back very soon with that video. Please do like, comment, subscribe, share, all of the things that you know we need to grow the channel. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.